Welcome to the Return of Worthy Ones, the video series where I take all the newest #1 comic books of the week and I deem them worthy or not worthy. Guys, I'm Mike Spider-Slayer. Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. If you love daily comic book content, if you love me helping you make decisions on what comic books to buy, make sure you guys subscribe. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's get started. Scarlet Couture, the Mutant Files. This is issue 1, done by Titan Comics, the same people that brought you Gun Honey. Now, I was a little bit worried if this book was going to push that envelope so far, just like Gun Honey does with all the big boobs and all the sex and everything else, and I feel like that takes away from the story. However, I decided to check this one out and see if it brought anything to the table. Now, when you look at the artwork in this title, it's actually pretty cool. It reminds you of like this animated style of art. Something you would see like on TV or whatnot. I was like, all right, that's kind of cool. And right from the start, like all the way through, this book really does have a lot of action in it, and I appreciated that. However, when it came to this series, I didn't know that this was a series beforehand. They give you a little synopsis of what happens beforehand and up to the point right now, and they're literally in the middle of a mission, and these girls, I don't even remember their names because I felt like that we focused so much on the action, there was no real character development. And by the time you wind up getting to the end of this issue, they were protecting these files. Some chick, I guess, gets shot. And at the end, I was like, do I really care? So I'm gonna deem this book not worthy. Unfortunately, I was expecting a little bit more. Sometimes when you do an introductory issue, you can appreciate good action. Unfortunately, character development is very key, especially in an independent comic book. And again, there was nothing here for me to get attached to when it came to these girls and all these other characters in here. So if I had to give this one a grade, I'm gonna give this one probably a C-. It wasn't horribly written, it wasn't really a bad story, but I do like good character development. Spider-Man Annual Issue 1, otherwise titled Contest of Chaos, Part 1. So Marvel is doing something a little bit different with their annuals, where they're making them all one continuous story. So you're going to see an annual, another annual, and another annual, and if it has that Contest of Chaos, it is a continuing story, okay? And Spider-Man is just the one that's kicking everything off. So I give him credit for trying to do something different, but I don't know if this story, this issue 1, is a good enough kickoff to have people continue buying these annuals, because the price of this book is $5. And this one is written by Stephanie Phillips, and the artwork here is done by Alberto Foch, if I say that right. Now, the artwork is not horrible, but when I see a scene with Wolverine and Spider-Man fighting each other, I want to see it done a little bit better than this. There's a lot of blank backgrounds, there's not a lot of detail that goes into it, just colors in the back, and I just feel like that's kind of lazy art. And when you have Marvel's premier characters like Wolverine and Spider-Man, you want to see an intense fight. You want to see them battle against each other, right? And I felt like that battle really lacked. Now, what was the plot of this story? Well, you wind up getting to see Agatha Harkness trying to create the Darkhold once again. And for some reason, she needs certain pieces or whatnot. And you see Wolverine and you see Spider-Man get dropped in this weird lost city. And they come across this crazy purple orb, and they have this lust to own it, and all of a sudden they're like, I want it, and he's like, no, I want it. So they're fighting each other for this orb to bring it to Agatha. Now, why did she select these two characters? Why couldn't she just select one? I have no idea. Maybe one's more worthy than the other, so she can use Wolverine as part of her future Dark Army. Like, I don't know, right? So after Spider-Man gets his ass kicked, he winds up back in New York City, and he goes to Jessica Jones, and he's trying to do investigative work with her to find out what's going on. Wolverine reports back to Agatha, and he has the orb. And the next thing we know is this next part of this story is going to take place in Iron Man Annual Issue 1. I gotta deem this book not worth it. So I'll tell you why. It's just not strong enough story. It's just, there's so many like little plot holes in it. The artwork is not that great. Now, I'm sure you can expect different writers and different artists in each annual and whatnot, but this is, I don't think, worth $5 to me. And if you're gonna kick it off with Spider-Man and Wolverine, it's just gotta be better than this, man. It's just not. Comics are getting to the point where they're really expensive now, and if a story just does not hit you, it's almost not worth the buy, you know? An average comic is just not going to cut it these days. The days are over when you can spend $2, $3 and be like, you know what, I'll try out this number one, right? What do I got to lose? It's not that much money. $5 is a lot of money, I feel, to just try out a comic, right? So at the end of the day, I am probably going to give this book a C- as well. It's just not great, and I want something better, especially when you have two premier characters here. So will I check out the other ones though? I don't know. We'll see. So even though this book is not a true number one, I had to cover it because we've been away from it for a little while. This is the Superman Annual 2023. So ever since Joshua Williamson has written this book, a lot of people have been digging it. However, with all the Night Terror stuff that's been going on, it's very easy to forget what's happening in your comic books. So that's why I really wanted to cover this book. This book is a $6 book, so be aware of that price tag here. But this is a book where I feel it is worthy. Right from the start, I'm going to tell you it's worthy because it does everything and anything to catch you up of what's going on in Superman's world in Metropolis and letting you know all those different types of secrets. The artwork in this book is actually really a lot of fun. I love all the characters' facial expressions in here. And I love Lois. I love how she's the editor-in-chief in the comic and how she's giving all her, I guess, employees of the Daily Planet different jobs to do. She doesn't want them to write the same old stories, so she sends them out on discovering the secrets of Metropolis. And you get to learn all about Mercy and the whole Supercorp and everything that's going on. You get to see what's going on with Parasite, and it catches you up with him. Just all those different things. You get to see Superman do this battle against what you think is Toyman, but it's really not that. Just overall, just a lot of fun in this particular story. You get to see Livewire, who is back, and you get to see, what's her name? Is it Silver Banshee or something like that? I don't know. You get to see like the Red Ghost or whoever, Red Mist, I think it was her name. So there was a lot of things that was introduced in the first couple issues, and it gets reintroduced to the readers. And I loved all the action that it presented to itself. There was a nice balance here. I love all the characters' voices in here. And then we get to see something that happens with Lobo, which was interesting. And we find out that his city has not been destroyed. It's actually been captured by freaking Brainiac out of all people. And it looks like we're going to get more Lobo characters. Now, I don't know if you guys are excited for that, but that could be some crazy twist in what's going on in the DC universe. So yeah, overall, this book was great. We get to see the return of Marilyn Moonlight, which I think she's a pretty awesome character too. And at the end of the day, I gotta give this a B+. Really solid book. Again, the price tag could deter you from this, but if you've been enjoying Joshua Williamson's Superman, you're gonna love this book. Children of the Vault, issue 1, continuing off the heels of Fall of X. Now, I really enjoyed the gala. I really enjoyed the X-Men issue 25. I enjoyed reading the Immortal X-Men issue that just came out. Astonishing Iceman, forget about that. I'm not reading that anymore. So I wanted to see what this book had to offer in the Fall of X because this is the children of the vault. They've been in that vault, they've been locked away and stuff like that, and I really am not attached to any of the characters, so I'm like, what's the point of them here? But this book did surprise me a little bit. It's not perfect, but it's okay. The artwork is good. I like the artwork. It's bright, it's vibrant. I like the characters' facial expressions. I like the main character, the female character. I forget her name though. It's Safina or something like that. She's a pretty cool one, as she was the first one to emerge from the cell, from the vault and whatnot. And we wind up finding out that these children of the vault are now free. There's no more mutants, and it seems like they're the ones that are kind of protecting the world instead of the mutants. And Orchis doesn't see them as a threat. They're just leaving them be, and they're just going amongst their mission to go against the mutants. That's all they want to do. The children of the vault are very advanced, so what they're doing is they're helping countries around the world to develop their civilizations, their buildings, and whatnot. So they seem to be a positive thing for Earth. In the meantime, we wind up getting to see Cable in this comic book return. He was trapped in a cell. We wind up seeing Bishop free him up. He doesn't have his arm. He doesn't have any of his weapons. And Bishop it breaks him out of this prison, and we get to see these two reunited. And again, as the book continues on, you get to see the Children of the Atom be like, you want to say, the next X-Men team while the X-Men are not around. So I thought this book was definitely worthy. Something that I thought was better than expected, and I love how Cable and Bishop are reunited again to, do whatever it is that they're going to do in the near future. So if you're into the Fall of X, I definitely recommend this book, and I'm going to give this book a B-. The only thing that I'm a little bit disappointed in is I want more character growth when it comes to the Children of the Atom, right? You've got to see them here and there throughout the pages of the X-Men, but they're just there. They were just fighting. They were just doing their thing. And even here, we get a little bit brief reintroduction of them, but no real character growth. And hopefully, as this little mini-series continues, we will get that. So this book wasn't even on my radar to begin with, but my LCS recommended this one, and this is called The Madness, issue 1-6, written by J. Michael Straczynski. Obviously, long-time writer of The Amazing Spider-Man. He's going to do Captain America in the near future. And I was like, you know what? I'll try it, because he knew I did this Worthy One video, and he said, you know what, Mike? I think you'll like this one. So the artwork was pretty good right off the start. It does start off with some action here as we get to see this character by the name of Sarah. And she's kind of like a Black Cat character. She kind of does these odds and ends jobs. She steals paintings, diamonds, things like that. And then she lets the heat die down, and then she has to go and do another job and whatnot. And she goes to her fiance and she says, you know what? I want to retire. So she thinks that this one big score, this one big job is going to set her free from the business once and for all. Okay. So great artwork here as you get to see the panels explode off the pages. Really nice here. And you get to see her accomplish that job. Well, the politicians are aware of this job, or what this character did. So there's this big exposition heavy talking head stuff of what happens in the comics on the decision of what they're going to do to stop this person, because they look at her as a real threat. Okay. It took a long time to get to this point, and this is what dragged the comic down for me. But once they made that decision to nuke this area that she's staying at, there was a payoff here. So she completes the job. She goes with the fiance, the kids, and everything else. They're getting ready to settle down. And boom, all of a sudden, a little kid's like, what's that, mommy? And there's this big nuke that sits there and hits the freaking cabin. And you're just like, oh my gosh, holy cow. And it destroys everything. Her husband, the area that they were at. And you would think it destroyed her. but it did not destroy her. And she wakes up and she can't believe what just happened, right? She realizes that her entire family, everything that she had is destroyed. And then you get to witness the change. It's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, Incredible Hulk type of thing, as you get to see her transform before your eyes. And she becomes this crazy, insane thing known as the Madness. So she is not dead. So all the hopes and dreams of these politicians on destroying this person was an absolute fail. This book is definitely worthy. It is a must read. It was so entertaining to read this whole thing. And I love how Michael Straczynski came up with the character designs in this comic book on the different versions of the character here. You get to witness who actual Sarah is, and then you get to see the anti-hero known as Raven, and then you get to see the Madness. And I guess there's different levels for each character based off of how angry she actually gets. You get to witness the Council of Justice and some other characters as well. Now, the one thing that I must say was I wasn't sure if this book attached to what's going on in AWA with their superhero and supervillain universe, but it felt like you didn't really need to know what was going on when you jumped into this comic book. Remember, it's only 6 issues. It seems like it's a go here. So if I had to give this one a grade, I'm going to grade this one a solid B+. This was a great read, just a little bit too heavy on the exposition. Ghost Rider Wolverine Weapons of Vengeance Alpha 1. Now, before you're like, oh no, here we go, another event, another alpha, another crossover. Benjamin Percy writes the whole thing. It's not huge, right? He writes Ghost Rider and Wolverine. I'm a huge fan of Ghost Rider, and I think he does the character great. All right, so you're going to get an Alpha, you'll get a Ghost Rider, you get a Wolverine, and Omega, and it's done. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. Okay, now, what I was expecting in the Wolverine Spider-Man annual, right? Or Spider-Man annual with the Contest of Chaos, it didn't deliver. But it did deliver here. So everything that I wanted there, I got in this comic book. The artwork is absolutely spectacular. There's no lazy artwork. It's dark, it's gritty. Check out Wolverine, the way he looks. Great facial expressions. This book is very horrific. It's very dark. I just loved everything about this comic when it came to the artwork. So, what is this story about? Well, it is a flashback story. However, by the time you get to the end of it, it becomes to the point where it is the present, okay? So that is pretty awesome here. So in this story, we wind up getting to see this social worker who has this boy that belongs to the orphanage, right? And every foster home he goes to, he winds up coming back to the orphanage. So she's very desperate to get rid of this boy, and she feels like he is a mutant because he has this dark ability, okay? And Wolverine comes to the door, greets them, and Xavier says, off to the side, Wolverine, let's take a look at the boy and see if he's a mutant. We find out that the boy is not a mutant here. He's something very dark. He's part of the supernatural world. So what Xavier says is, you know what? He can't be part of this institute, but I can give you some numbers, some people to call when it comes to this young boy. I feel like he's in trouble and things like that. So what happens is the boy is very upset. He wants to become part of the mutants. He liked the mansion and everything else. And so it was very sad, right? Then you go to the other side and you get to see Johnny Blaze. He's doing his Evel Knievel stuff. He's in a show doing all his great things. And then he has a vision of a dark supernatural being, which is this young boy that becomes this crazy creature. He winds up crashing and he's like, I have to go out. He tells his girlfriend and stop this thing from actually happening. You get to see him change into the Ghost Rider, which I thought was really cool. And then you get to see this boy go back to the orphanage and do this very dark thing to all the people that he is living with. He makes them into this like crazy dark totem thing, and then he goes running off and whatnot. Just very dark stuff here. And then we get to see him attack the Institute. He wants to go to the Institute, he wants to be part of it, but he doesn't know how to control his supernatural ability, and you get to see Wolverine fight him, right? So it's very intense, very insane. The creature goes running off. We see him and Ghost Rider come together, and they're off to go fight this this boy, this supernatural being. But before they did that, they met up and they did this cool fight. And that is a fight, not like in that Contest of Chaos nonsense, right? Man, this book is so worth it. I definitely say go out and get this book, especially if you love Wolverine and you love Ghost Rider. This was an awesome story. It comes to the present day, and these two are going to track this boy down because he winds up killing once again. And one of the people he kills is the person that was taking care of him, that social worker. So I can't wait to see where this book goes. I'm giving this book an A+. Great artwork, great action, very intriguing. This is everything that you want in like an event book, right? This is a great lead up into the story to come. So there you have it, guys. There are the newest #1 books that I read for this week. What did you deem worthy and not worthy? And of course, guys, stay tuned for the normal day of when this show returns, which will be Thursdays, where I talk about all the new #1s for next week. And as always, guys, if you love my content, I'll leave you more content right here. This is my thoughts on the newest Amazing Spider-Man issue. And as always, guys, keep buying, keep collecting, but always remember to read your comics.